A very good evening to you and welcome to the desk here on Global Television. My name is Godwin Sunday. Well, the federal government has raised alarm over impending flood set to hit 30 states and the Federal Capital Territory, FCT, placing over 1,200 communities at high risk this year. The warning came during the course of last week, April the 10th, during the 2025 Annual Flood Outlook AFO presentation by the Nigerian Meteorological Services Agency, NIHSA, in Abuja. The Minister of Water Resources and Sanitation, Joseph Abuhson, revealed that coastal and riverine flooding will likely affect part of the south-south due to the rising sea levels, with Bayelsa, Delta, Cross River, Rivers, Akwa Ibom, and Edo are the most vulnerable states, even by the minister's prediction. The outlook identified 1,249 communities across 176 local government areas as high-risk zones, while an additional 2,187 communities in 293 local governments will face moderate flooding risk. Flat states include Lagos, Benue, Jigawa, Abia, and Kogi. To enhance preparedness, this year's flood forecast includes a novel community-based flood prediction. Well, joining me to talk about Nigerians' flood outlook and how it will affect agriculture in general, it's Emmanuel Abuhson, who is joining us live on the desk. But first, you're welcome to the desk.
Thank you so much. It's nice to be here.
All right, so you've listened to some of what we've read right now.
Yeah.
Looking at the flood outlook, it seems as though it's going to be one interesting flood this year. But how will you react to what the minister have said so far?
Yes, so my reaction is, I'll say either a reaction or respond to it is that it's high time that we get our farmers prepared with adequate information and timely information. Timely information to make sure that they are prepared for what is about to happen to us. We've been having similar cases like this before now, but we need to make them understand that we need to prepare for the contingencies, especially for farmers, because this is where it affects or interests me the most. The NISA has given us the flood outlook. So it's now for us that provide services to farmers, especially the extension service workers, to get the farmers ready, especially with the right information so they can make informed decisions.
All right. This information is coming just last month. And by the meteorological predictions for this year, we're told that the rains will start coming in from March 30th. And this, what we've just read right now, is coming in by April the 10th. The timing for this information, you think it is late? Can farmers be able to augment with this timing? Is the notice too short for farmers?
All right, so notice not actually too short, because there are some factors you need to put into considerations when developing outlooks like this. The outlook. So you see, when they gather their informations, predictions, and then also forecast, there's some tests it has to pass to make sure that all these informations are right, and they're at least to our average over 80 to 70% correct, accurate, so that we don't have issues where farmers or Nigerians will say, NIMED said this, NISA said this, but it is not accurate. So before it becomes something that can be disclosed to the public, there are factors that need to be in check. And I think that's one of the things they have done. And the timing is quite very accurate. The timing is, because we are still in the planting season, land preparation just started. And I think this is the right time for that. So it's still quite on time, and it will help farmers put good checks in place. Again, why it's going to also help is the fact that before the before farmers will start putting things to the soil, especially these flood-prone areas, there are information that they need to have, and that is one of the information that are provided already. And then we now look at it at the period where this flood will start, and the gestation period for like from planting to harvest of particular certain crops. What is the duration? Can we do this? Can we not do this? What should we do? Yes, like I said in drawing farming calendar. Now, so the agencies, especially agencies that are meant to help farmers in drawing farming calendars, which is the extension services we have from the Ministry of Education, Ministry of Agriculture, the Federal Department of Extension Services. So this is the time where they need to now put efforts together to make sure now the information that have been passed last month start getting to the farmers again, like I said, timely delivery, so that farmers know how to start planning themselves.
Well, quite interesting. Let's look at the outlook in itself. 30 states will be affected and will be hit by this flood.
Yes.
Going with the current economic realities, doesn't this spell doom for the state in terms of price of commodities, which is already up? Won't this also further push this state into a near state of comatose?
All right, so just like you've mentioned, one of the things again that will happen that I'm afraid is market shock.
Okay.
Yes, so in the economy, every decision has its play on the market. It has to do with decisions on the buyers and the sellers. Now, the states that this is going to be affected, that will be affected, might also vary in terms of landscape. We'll look at landscape, what size of the land will be covered. So let's say, for example, Kogi, for example, it's not the entirety of these states that will be covered. Some portions will be covered. Now, what we need to do, like I said, is preparing for these things. How do we prepare for them? Where are the risk zones? The risk zones in these areas. So we mark them out. So we ask farmers not to cultivate in these particular areas. We have over 60% of our land in Nigeria uncultivated. And this land uncultivated are arable lands. So we can start moving our farming activities from risk zones to zones that are less risk prone. And then we do our farming there. Now, one of the things I think the government needs to start paying attention to is not about repeating mistakes or repeating cycle of poverty, where we have issues where the same particular areas that were affected 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 6 years ago is still the same areas that will still be affected. And now what we keep doing is more of cure. We are trying to cure it. We're trying to give aids. We're trying to cushion the effect when we can actually prevent. So these areas that we know are risk prone, let's start moving farming activities from there to areas where we know are less affected. Again, over 60% of our land is arable, uncultivated. So let's move farming activities there. So I think we need to become very proactive and very preventive, so that we don't repeat the cycle of poverty.
I think the government is ready?
The government is ready and not ready. And when I say not ready, is we like the sweet soft spot in Nigeria, where we like to do the sweet spot, soft spot. We try to do the easy thing and feel like we're working. Just like when you go to any ministry now, you see everybody's trying to do something. It's like they're busy, but I call it the barrenness of busy minds. They are busy, but you cannot see the effect. You cannot see the result of why they're being busy. So government is ready. Yes, there are funds for it. Now, not ready on the other part is the drivers that are meant to make this happen are not actually putting the efforts together. We have the Federal Department of Extension Services. We have the Ministry of Agriculture. We have the Rural Development. And all of these agencies are highly funded. NISAL has done its own job. NIMET has done their own. It is not us that are in the intermediary between the farmers and these agencies now to break these communications down into achievable results, so that these farmers will get to understand that whatever action we take has its own effect. Then also we consult with the government and also advise the government. Why not fund like this? Why not we take these decisions? The states, the land in Nigeria belongs to the states. So the state government should also become proactive through the Ministry of Agriculture. And we now start looking at it, okay, this particular place where there are forests, can we start doing land development there? Now, in Nigeria, again, we have National or Nigerian Land Development Authority, NLDA, which is also saddled with the responsibility to develop lands for cultivation, because we have difference between land development and land preparation. So farmers can only prepare the land, but there's an agency that is saddled with the responsibility to develop this land to become usable by the farmers. So some of our farmers, some of our forests should be developed so that we can start moving activities to this arable land. Again, I'll keep emphasizing, over 60% of our land are arable and uncultivated.
All right. 1,200 communities
Yes.
will be affected, will be hit by this flood. And you've said that the government should talk to farmers and also taking people to lands that have not been cultivated.
Yes.
But then again, we know that in most of the riverine communities and in some parts of Nigeria, farming is more of a family trait, where you must farm on your family's land.
Yes.
And if you leave your family land and venture into another person's land, automatically you have encroached.
Into the person, yes.
You violated certain principles and laws even within the country.
Yes.
Now, you said at this point, do you think that Nigerian farmers are ready to move to other lands if the government is even recommending? Or the farmers will want to stick to what they believe even at this point? Or how will you react to this?
Right. See, education in Nigeria is something we need to pay attention to. So, this land is your father's land. It's costing you your life. It's costing you loss of resources. Now, we are saying, it's not as if we are saying that this is not your father's land. But at this time frame, can we move you? Can we provide the alternative? Again, you're not going to another man's land. We're talking about the land that is owned by state. By the law, by the constitution, the land belongs to states, not to individuals, right? Yeah. Now, the government is now providing you an alternative for a particular farming season to help us. We're trying to prevent, this is like contingencies, so that we can direct the forecast that is about to hit you. So either you leave this land or either you leave the place or not, flood will happen. You're going to be displaced. Now we're trying to provide you an alternative for the time frame. So I think it still had to do with communication. Now, every policy in Nigeria has either been miscommunicated or misunderstood. So when I mean miscommunication right now is when we talk, let me take a policy like the Ruga policy, for example, where we're talking about having rural settlements for herders. So the policy was miscommunicated and it was misunderstood by the people because it was becoming like a tale of religion and politics and tribal war. Now, when we're going to have issues like this, it's going to be very good when we deliberately educate the people. One, the risks it would cost them. The loss of resources is going to also cost them. And the alternative we're providing for them to save the state and also put us in an advantage position. Advantage position in the sense that we're going to have enough food. When we don't have enough food, it's clear that we're doomed for war. In either way. Because if let's take a look at the Holy Scriptures, the Bible, for example, a point came that there was famine, that people had to start cooking their children to eat. Because man must eat, and alternatives must be found. So we're trying to just provide alternatives. That why these areas as risk they are risk prone. Can we give you alternatives? So when we look at the riverine areas, how good have we even used our river bodies in Nigeria? What is irrigation farming like in Nigeria? It's still underutilized, where we have nations like Israel, like Rwanda, making heavy investment in irrigation farming. These are dry lands, even Dubai, for example, where you know that there are no rains and all of that. So have we even used these water bodies? No. So can we start educating the people? Can we start creating structure? I am an advocate of system buildings and structure buildings so that we can be able to harmonize and harness the manpower we have as a country. So our river bodies are not being harnessed. As we speak, we are still losing like over $1 billion to illegal fishing in Nigeria. So even from the resources in the water, we are losing it. The resources on the land, we are still losing it. Then what is on the land, we are losing it. So what we are saying now is when the flood comes, it's going to affect people. Sometimes it even leads to death. So we want to protect you, then start creating alternatives so that we don't keep repeating the same thing and expecting the same result.
Quite interesting. A lot of people that were displaced, that have been displaced
Yes.
as a result of the 2024 flood,
Yes.
are yet to recover from that shock. Because some of their properties that they lost,
Yeah.
they've not been
gone.
compensated by the government.
Yes.
And you are saying that the government can move people from their traditional homes,
Yes.
traditional farms, and move them to a temporary site in preparation for the flood. Their ancestral homes, like some people have this superstitious belief that the ancestral home has a possibility of strengthening the farming seasons for them, and it has worked for them over the years. Now they have this thing with ancestral lineage. Of course, you are an agriculturist and you understand some of this metaphysical dimension of the agricultural space. But again, if the government is saying that communities will be affected, I thought by now agriculturists like yourself, conversation should be in terms of can we ensure that we have the government dredge the seas, the rivers, the gutters, in order to ensure that we avoid this flood, or we control the flood. Shouldn't the conversation be along this line, even from agriculturists, other than talking, we probably recommending or suggesting that the government move people away from their ancestral farmlands?
Okay. We're providing solutions.
Yes.
And so anytime you create solution, you create another problem.
Okay.
And another problem gets its own solution. That is how the world works. Now, when we talk about preventive measures, earlier I talked about preventive measures. We like the fire brigade approach in Nigeria. We wait, even on campuses. An assignment has been given to a student. You have 2 weeks to submit. You start seeing students, the day they are meant to submit the assignment is when they are doing the assignment. It's then when they are running up and down. What you couldn't achieve in 2 weeks, you want to achieve it in less than 2 days. Sorry, in less than 2 hours. That is how we run government also in Nigeria. So before now, the flood has happened before. There's a particular flood that was so terrible that the nation was like at a standstill. Especially when you're moving from Lokoja down to Abuja and all of that. You can see it. It was terrible. What have we done? In fact, let us even ask question, what has Kogi State done to curtail that? There's a particular dam, I'm trying to remember the name. There's a particular dam that was built during Babangida era in Kogi State. The dam is at the place of Koma. Around I'm trying to remember, yeah. So now the thing is this: the dam was built to support irrigation farming for the purpose of agriculture. It was abandoned because there's a transition in government, and that we don't understand what continuity means. The fact that a particular government starts something and was not able to end it before their transition, before they left the office, doesn't mean it was their father's money they were using to build it. It was the public funds, and now the other government that is coming is also to continue from that. So when we talk about drainages, we look at what Goodluck Jonathan started before the end of his administration. What happened? It was put to a halt. If we're going to be effective, it's first of all start with prevention. Now, since that was not able to be achieved, we have to start looking for other alternatives. And so when we look for other alternatives, and these are the other alternatives I'm trying to mention, that yes, it's your ancestral home. No, we are very superstitious. We are very religious in Nigeria, but not spiritual. We are very religious. And one of the things religious give is to give birth to wickedness. And that's why we can be very religious and very wicked. And then when we look at blessings, not actual blessing. You see, let's talk about blessing ancestral homes. Do you know how many Nigerians want to get out of this country to another foreign land? Again, you go to church. When you get the visa to go to US or to go to any other countries, you come to church to give us testimony that God has done it for you. But when we ask you to travel home for Christmas, you say you're going to go and meet village people. That is the same ancestral home you are trying to protect, right? Now, when in situations like this, what we're looking at now is to start providing alternatives. What alternatives do we have? Like I said, from my own angle, we have 60% of our land arable, uncultivated. Can we move to that place? Can we farm on that particular space? Your ancestral home is going to be taken by flood. Your ancestral guys that you are trying to protect cannot protect you. They cannot stand and come and stop the wave from coming, the flood from coming. The flood is going to come. So as religious and as superstitious that we are, superstitious cannot help us to stop this. So can we start providing other solutions? Intelligent solutions, not superficial solutions that is just on the surface. The blessings are there. There's no land in Nigeria going to farm today that is not blessed. Nowhere. It might only depends on the kind of crops you are dealing with. Nigeria is too blessed that the blessings is even scary.
Well, what a scary blessing it is.
Yes.
But then let's look at the flagged states, which are Lagos, Benue, Jigawa, Abia, and Kogi. These flat states, it's become like a recurring phenomenon and a common decimal factor that over year in, year out, this flag states still gets to experience large floods, even in these communities. And I was asking that question because in this light, shouldn't the Farmers Association of Nigeria, Farmers Council, probably they have a Farmers Guild of Nigeria, shouldn't these organizations put their feet on the ground and demand that the government should carry out certain responsibilities prior to this flood, even before we get into a new flooding season? When they are not speaking up, is this not a corroboration to the fact that the farmers' organization are being negligent and are not demanding certain things from the government? Is this not a disservice from these organizations to farmers and by extension to Nigerians?
The associations, first of all, are political. It's actually has less representation of the people, but more about the leaders who just came together to control themselves and said they're leaders and representing these people. It's not about the government of the people, by the people, and for the people. It's for the few in that space. And when they get what they feel like they want to get, they forget about the people. Now, what we need to start doing now as farmers is mobilizing ourselves. You see, when we mobilize ourselves, because we share same experience, same pain, we can be quite united in driving a goal, forgetting about who the leaders are right now. We need to start sharing our stories. See, the effort from agriculture is still underreported in Nigeria. However, with a whole lot going on right now, especially like just the states you've mentioned, Kogi, Benue. Benue State is the food basket of the nation. When you get to Zakimbiab, you'll be shocked. The produce you're going to sit there, I think, is one of the largest markets of yam in Nigeria.
I thought Van der Kiel has more yam than...
When you get to Zakimbiab, you understand what I'm saying?
Okay.
I'm not trying to promote the Benue State government, but
no, it's fine.
Benue State is the food basket of the nation. You pass there, you're going to see things. Even when it comes to post-harvest loss, I bleed. Now, structurally, the government and the people are still disconnected. And again, it's how to still do with representation, the people who are representing this organization. So how do we bridge it? We mobilize ourselves. We mobilize ourselves through our pain. We mobilize ourselves through our experiences, so that we can be able to address what we're confronted with. But it's currently becoming a point of do your own, I do my own. We are so disconnected that even our reality is becoming like an illusion. So we at the point we have been supporting cluster farming as an organization. We've been trying to see how we can mobilize farmers together, but you can still see that disconnect among them. So they're not speaking in one voice. And the only way you can get the attention of any government all over the world is when you are with one voice. Imagine 1 million farmers crying out It will get the attention of the government. Sometimes you only take 2,000 tweets to get the government to start changing some policies, to start addressing some things. So imagine if 1 million farmers, 2 million farmers, 10 million farmers, Benue State, Kogi State, Jigawa State, these states that are prone, coming together to form a voice. And then the state government of these states coming together to look at it, to address it, to send their representatives. They have senators in the National Assembly. They have House of Representatives, especially these zones that are prone. We have Kogi Central, for example. We have Kogi Central pushing bills like this that have to do with addressing the issue of flood preventive measures, not just waiting for it to happen. Then you are see what we use to want to caution the effect is enough to also prevent this from happening. It's a country that opened their dam. It affects us. What are we building? How are we channeling our own water bodies? How are we even utilizing it? Now, we're not doing irrigation farming enough for us to say that we're even benefiting from water bodies. Now, when the effect comes, again, it destroys what we have. It displaces people. We have IDP camps. We have the refugees, the refugee camps, and all of that we're spending money on. What we spend to cure is too even much than what we need to prevent this to happen. So, but we must be in one voice. I'm also calling on the state governors to come together. They have representatives, state house assembly members, to join the force. They need to represent the people they need to actually represent the people that put them there.
Well, someone said, on a lighter note, that the division in agriculture in Nigeria and by extension across the world is born out of the university system. That the university has helped you guys to disorganize and disintegrate the agricultural space. Yes. But that's just on a lighter note. But let's look at the forecast of this year. Now, it says that a lot of communities will be affected. Yes. Now, apart from the states that we've mentioned, now let's even look at the various local governments the outlook tried to identify. 1,249 communities across 176 local government areas are at high risk. Now, this alone is something to worry about.
Definitely.
High risk.
Yes.
Now, we also have 2,187 communities and 293 local governments that will going to face moderate flooding. Now, the issues around those floods tend to be one issue that we try to look away from. We don't want to shy away from this conversation. Yeah. But where we are right now, people that were affected by last year's floods have not been attended to. Farmers, on the other hand, will likely increase the price of commodities or food items in the market. We can't rule out that possibility. Again, we're going to experience a lot of food shortage in the country. In a country where we are still struggling to get quite a number of food. The children are on holidays, even this period. Somebody will say, is this not double wahala for the country? But you are in this field. Are there guarantees right now from your own observation, looking at this whole outlook, do you think at this point in time that the prices of commodities in the market
will go down?
Will at least be on a flat rate?
It will not.
No, let's be hopeful. Let's be optimistic. If something good will happen.
Except we're going to import more.
And the flood will not affect the import.
No, let's say because it's not being produced here and we're importing, we're bringing in, then let's say maybe the price might be moderate. But with what we have right now, we're currently talking about food crisis. We have food crisis. Without playing politics, what we are currently facing in Nigeria is food crisis, market shocks. That has to do from the declaration of first subsidy gone and all of that. We're still trying to manage all these, all the shocks that came into the market. Now, with this forecast, one of the things this forecast is going to do is to create panic in the market. So anytime you have panic in the market, it creates market shocks, right? The price goes up because everybody wants to start hoarding. So when you don't have in the market, what happens? The supply is low. but the demand keeps getting higher, right? Then when demand goes up, the cost also goes up. So that is one of the things we're going to have. Now, number two, let's take a very look at it. The local government that will be affected. We have 774. Now, minus it from the state that is going to be affected by flood. Local government that is going to be affected by flood.
176 local governments is going to be affected.
So you should understand.
176,
that numbers. So we understand the number. It's going to now give us a perception into what we should start looking out for or looking into to start doing. Again, like I said earlier, that there are lands that we need to start developing, which I still urge the state governments, because they are the custodians of lands, they are the owners of land. Land has been owned by states. A state like Kogi State government, for example, can actually dedicate 5,000 hectares into food security projects. States like where, especially areas where it's low risk, the Kogi East axis, for example. Now we also go to Benue State. It's not all the areas in Benue State that are to be affected. There are some particular local government that will be affected. Now, can we start developing these lands? You go there. I'm talking about deep forest, arable, and not doing anything. Now, for us to be able to avert all of this, is us preparing ahead, and the state government also listening. You see, sometimes the state government even listen. There are some states you go, the government give you approval, then you're now tied with bottlenecks. This person that I want to be sorted. We are trying to be sorted in a country that's already facing challenges. So we all need to put our hands together. Earlier this morning we were having some conversations and we're talking about to promote the public-private partnership, which can help us achieve some reasonable results. Excuse me, please. So why we have issues around the flood, can we maximize axes where there are no flood? Can we develop these places? Can we maximize them? Can we make use of them? Can we start can we use machines? Matter of fact, most of these areas we just mentioned, farming activities there are still man-powered. And when we use manpower for agriculture, we limit productivity. So our productivity is still limited. Our profit is still limited. But when we use technology and machines, then we cannot start talking about profit. Then we cannot start talking about even food security down to food sufficiency. So we must start providing solutions, alternative solutions. Cultivating, I keep talking about 60% of our land uncultivated. It's enough to feed Nigeria and feed Africa. Nigeria is big enough to feed, with the flood, with all the challenges, Nigeria can still feed Africa.
Well, Dr. Emmanuel Abuhson, at least you begin to sound like a prophet of doom in this light. Looking at it, you're saying that there is no hope.
No, I'm not saying there is no hope
For price of commodities to drop.
No.
If we don't import.
No, looking at this, we're talking about facts now.
Yes.
Statistics, facts don't lie, right? Now, if we're going to make our predictions, and how do you make predictions? How do you make assumptions? How do you project? It's from the facts that you have, right? Already before now, insecurity has taken a very good portion of our land zones where farming activities happen. So if these zones are already been taken by because of insecurity, now other zones where activities can also happen is now being taken by flood. What are we talking about? So why the only solutions we need to start looking at now is solutions keep talking about. The arable lands we have that are uncultivated, can Nigerian Land Development Authority go there, develop this land? Because if it's been developed, then land preparation can start for farming. Again, we should not just create agencies that are not functioning. We create agencies and we disenfranchise them from functioning.
This is not sounding very, very nice.
Okay, let me bring hope.
The hope side.
Yes.
So the viewers can be relieved a bit.
Sir, please, let me bring hope.
All right, please.
Let me bring hope. When talk about importation, the federal government is already doing a lot, taking out import duties from food commodities, and it's encouraging importation to happen because we need more food in the country. Our borders have been opened. Nigeria is also, the market is already favoring farmers too that are locally producing. That our farmers should not just be looking at exporting of what we don't even have enough yet, But the market is also good for us to market. Then again, we also need to talk to the middlemen who are hoarding, because informations like this, people that take advantage of informations like this are middlemen. And these middlemen have funds to aggregate or take from farmers.
And they're also agriculturists.
Yes, so they buy from the farmers. They have money enough to aggregate, to get, all this small quantity these are small farmers are doing. They can aggregate them, take from them. So they are often the ones that hoard, and most of them are even doing to exportation of food. Now, if we can start addressing our local market, I think now hope can come. And then I'll still also urge the federal government to have communications with their state governors, the progressives, and all the parties involved, that can we start also preventing, and we start looking at the flood. See, this flood is going to happen. It's not just prediction. It's going to happen. Now, for us to be at the advantage side, there's a way you can convert something evil for good, right? So we can start taking advantage of them. Again, having conversations with the people who are in these areas. Hope you know that because it's an act of God, there are some limits even National Agricultural Insurance Corporation, NAEC, can also cover. Because it's like you have been forewarned already. You're now trying to come and claims that you want to come and do claims that the flood affected your farm. So we need to educate the farmers. When we educate our people, we give them the right information for them to make informed decisions. When we actually have conversations with them, because see, government should have conversations with these people. We're talking about human beings; they're not animals. We should have even animals even listen. Cattle, look at cattle and their heads. They are very, when they say, they arrange themselves. So government and our stakeholders can come together, have conversations. This flood will happen. How can we prevent it from affecting us? Then the conversations become more productive. Then we can start harnessing. Now, when flood happens, they take them to camps. That is not for their forefathers. It's not their ancestral homes. Sometimes the kind of lifestyle here is not even what you want to wish another person, right? So we can now start having that conversations now. Move them to a place where they can call home temporarily when the government sorts these other issues.
The issues around this flood, one of the causes of this flood is that there's a high rising sea level. Can't we begin to have conversations around we using the high rising sea levels to our own advantage, even as a country?
Yeah, I talked about the dam that was built in Lokoja, in Kogi State, that was abandoned. We talked about it around, as if we are going to that, it's around Asara, at least like that.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, this is what I'm saying. When we build infrastructures like this, it helps us prepare for contingencies. It helps us prepare for a day like this. When we start looking at innovative way of creating infrastructures around agriculture, irrigation farming, like I mentioned, irrigation farming, that we don't just need to farm during rainy season, but even both dry and rainy season. You can now see that we can start making use of these water bodies. Kogi State, for example, Basa, Ibaji, rely on rain to farm, even when they are inside water. For example, Niger State too, for example, the mighty Niger. So can we start, and this also comes from government investing in things that are important. No state governor, especially these risk zones, should be buying vehicles for state house or assembly members, for commissioners. When we can invest this in investment, because it's an investment.
But let's not go that access, Dr. Emmanuel Abuhson. Those cars are for mobility and operation.
You see, mobility will happen. You see, a man which house is under fire is not looking for luxury.
Would you have recommended that the House of Assembly members drive bicycle? Or
no, there are some very, see.
Or the commissioners in states begin to...
What the convoy is for what?
Well,
we need to, when they say cut down expenses, when we want to talk, when we are going to deal with these issues, we need to deal with it without politics. Nigerian issues have never been about policies. It has been about politics. It's not policies. Nigeria has one of the best policies. Do you know the finest brains? We don't know the brains we have in Nigeria. You can literally uplift a concept here, a policy here in Nigeria, and you go to another country, it's going to work. We've tried it in Rwanda. It worked. So we need to start addressing some of these issues. We say we don't have funds. Government will tell you they don't have money. Then you now come and see the way they spend the money. Then it also show us where the priority is. So these are issues we need to without bias. It's not a blame game situation. No, it's also having conversations. It's like me trying to tell my father, I think we can do better, because my father too want to tell me to do better, right? It's us telling ourselves that we can do better. When we start doing better, when we start investing in infrastructure, I tell you, Nigeria will be better. Nigeria will be better. Every country, go to China. A point had to come, they had to discipline themselves. Then invest in the right thing. Invest in humans. Invest in infrastructure to get the results they are getting now. Go to India. Bangalore. It's almost not. When it comes to IT, information technology, it's now already raising chest to chest, to show that to the United States, where Silicon Valley started from in California. So we need to start investing in the right thing too, so that we can be able to start making advantage of this sea level. It should be to advantage, not every time it comes into our disadvantage. We're not trying to look for money to help the IDPs to do this, to do that, to cushion the effects. No, we can reinvent the wheels.
All right. So, in the absence of government,
yes,
not coming to the rescue for all of those communities, I told you about 1,249 communities will be affected.
Yes.
In line with these figures and 176 local governments that's going to be affected with this flow.
Yeah.
What are agriculturists supposed to be doing at this time in preparation for the flow?
Okay. It's still has to do with cultivating lands. Because this community, before now, when you look at the concept of preparing for the raining day, right?
Yeah.
Good. So there was a particular, let me take a very good example from the scriptures, to all my audience. Joseph was in Egypt. There was a dream. There was going to be 7 years of abundance, right? Another 7 years there will be dryness. So they were cultivating and they were preserving, waiting for a day that it is going to happen. Now, one of the things agriculturists have not actually done in Nigeria yet is understanding all this outlook, creating a calendar, a farming system, putting the infrastructure that can help us curtail or be able to help us that can cushion these effects when it comes. We are always relaxed till the deadlines. They will start running up and down. So as it is right now, the only thing the agriculturists can do is we're going to study again the outlook. NIMET, before now, NIMET, early enough before the beginning of this year, NIMET gave weather predictions, telling us about dry spell, about when we're going to the onset rains and all of that. So when NIMET gave us these informations, what were we doing? So we had to start looking at it with NIMET. We had some mapping sections. We had to start looking at it. How can the information NIMET has provided help us with farmers? And we started providing this information to farmers. We started providing information to farmers. Now, the outlook has also come. We need to start, again, one of the things people like us need to start doing, agriculturists, is to start educating the farmers. Then we start looking at crops. The time frame, what time frame do we have? When is this flood going to start? At what point? So from now to that time, what can we plant and what can we have? So what can we even have enough as Nigerians that can even export? Then what do we need now to import? Especially looking at these zones that will be affected, these risk zones that will be affected. What are the commodities that are specific in these areas? Like rice, for example, because most of them is going to be rice. So we're going to look at rice. So what can we do to counter? So what can we sell to bring in? So by the time we start having these conversations, and not just having conversations, start doing, encouraging farmers on what to plant. See, these farmers don't really understand anything about our outlook. What they understand is about their experience. Last year, they did maize around March, April. So this year, they're going to, another time, they're going to do cassava around that same period. By September, they're going to do soya beans and benneseed and all of that. That is their experience. Now, we have information that is going to make that, we have information that can help them make better decisions. That what they know about last year is not going to what's going to be the outcome of this year. So can we start educating them? It still has to do with education. And now, this education has nothing to do with whether the farmers know how to speak English or not. We can communicate with them in their language. We have extension workers that are location specific, and we can use this this model, this leverage on this infrastructure, educate the farmers, one, help them make better decisions. Number two, also be actively involved.
I think the time is not late for all of this.
No, timing is not late. Now, maybe 2-3 months ago could have been better. Now is another better time.
Well, if NIMET came out with its reports,
Yes,
of course, other meteorological agencies have come out with their own reports also.
Yes.
Probably actual reports or partial reports, but then we know that the rains will start coming and there will be floods. Yes, these were predictions. Whether the rain will be more or it will be less. Looking at all of this, we've not done anything about it.
No.
We saw NIMET's reports.
Yes.
And we're expecting that there will be more of sensitization.
It was going on.
The sensitization, was it happening at grassroots or the grassroots?
Yes. So there was a particular, there was a mapping room section training that happened when NIMET was meant to
in Abuja.
Yes, to launch.
Now, people on the urban side of the world.
Now, not
rural communities. That this flood is going to affect about 1,240.
Yeah. So I'm getting there. I'm getting there. So NIMET cannot do all the job. So what NIMET did in collaboration with Sahel Consult was to bring stakeholders together, empower us, because I was part of it, to also now take it to the grassroots. And we are actually doing that. As we speak, NIMET is actually working with over 40 million farmers, providing them information that you can get this, you can get text messages on your phone as farmers. So they were gathering data. One of the challenges we need to understand is that sometimes the accuracy of our data is another challenge. Do you know that there was a time we had some experience in Plateau State, for example, where we were collecting data from farmers, and thank God that we went with someone that can speak their local dialect. Their dialect. The farmers were saying, don't give them your correct number, so that they'll not use it to scam you. Now, they were not giving us, they were mixing, some of them were mixing numbers. Now, imagine you now sending messages to you. You feel like you are sending messages to these farmers. So we need to start even looking at the trust level among these farmers, people and agencies and all of that. So what we're looking at right now is that they are doing, the unfortunate thing is that most of these agencies, their work is underreported. And so it's not as though we're advocating for them, because I'm also part of their process. NIMET, for example. NIMET spent a whole lot to empower the stakeholders who now empower their local communities. And I can tell you that the agency is doing so much. Same thing with NISA. Now, after NISA brought out their outlook, we started looking at organizations like, to partner with all these organizations takes nothing. You write, they look at your model, they look at your infrastructure, and they work with you. Their aim is to make sure that you get it to the farmers.
Well, Dr. Emmanuel Abuhson, if we leave you like this on farming issues and agriculture, we know we will not leave the studio. But I've been signaled right now that it's time to go. I want to say thank you so much for being a part of the show.
I really appreciate that. It's always nice to be here, and we'll keep educating our people.
Most definitely. Well, you can join the conversation on our various social media handle now showing on your screen. Don't forget, my name is Godwin Sunday. Till the desk returns to you, always remember that peace and unity are the pathways to progress. Bye for now.